Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
All right, and welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. And as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia, but we have a different show today, all right? We got Thomas Dougherty in the studio today, going to be co-hosting with me. Going to be here on Thursday too, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so he'll be here Thursday. All right. We did the GSMC basketball podcast yesterday. Go ahead and check that one out if you haven't. We did GSMC sports earlier today, so he's going to be on that one too. So it's going to be a pretty fun show, Tuesdays and Thursday. All right, but it is now day 52, I believe, since our last football game that we got to watch. All right, obviously we got the Alliance of American Football, I think it is. They're trying to start up a league. That's going to be starting up next February, I think it is. So we'll have football in February to be talking about those games too, I guess, at this time. But nonetheless, 52 days since the Super Bowl. You're probably on your third season of your Madden franchise. All right, you probably won the Super Bowl. If you're let's see, what was the worst team? If you're a Browns fan, you've probably won the Super Bowl about a couple times. All right, I'm sure whoever quarterback you've got is playing pretty well, better than any of the quarterbacks on that jersey they got going on. For the jersey, I'm talking about, the one with the last names on it. But yeah, day 52, we're getting through it. It's the off season. All right. The Rams gave us something to talk about. We got Ndamukong Suh going to the Rams. Me and Thomas are going to be giving our thoughts on it in the first segment. Second segment, OBJ. All right. He might be leaving the Giants. We're going to be talking about that. Talking about different landing spots that he could end up with. And maybe talk about, we're going to talk about everything that has to do with OBJ. Whether it be the Rams, possibly trading for him. If the Giants are smart doing it, it's going to be a lot. All right. So we'll be doing that. Third segment, you guys. They finally changed the catch rule. They made it simple. All right, so we're going to be talking about that. We'll be throwing it back to when Dez dropped it, even though I thought he caught it. Calvin Johnson, who knows? If maybe he got that touchdown, they didn't rule it incomplete. Maybe he's still playing in the NFL. I mean, you got that whole playing in Detroit thing that no one really likes to do. Shout out to Barry Sanders. Talking about everything else as far as the catch rule. And then for the fourth segment, we'll be talking about whatever else is going on in football. You got Mike Tomlin saying the NFL touchdown celebration set a bad example. Pretty much guy yells at kids to get off his lawn, basically what I got from that. And pretty much talking about anything else going on in the world of football. You got Johnny Manziel, who was at Texas A&M's Pro Day today, I believe it was, which is Tuesday, March 27th. So yeah, I was throwing a Christian Kirk, possible number one receiver or first round receiver. So we'll maybe throw in a little bit of Johnny Manziel in that last segment. But like I said, Ndamukong Suh now headed to the Rams. 1 year, $14 million deal. All right, you got Aaron Donald on that D-line. You got Marcus Peters. You got Aqib Talib. You probably have the best defense in all of football, if we're being real here. All right? I mean, you had the Eagles. I guess we have a lot of good defenses in the league right now. If I have to look through it, let's see. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I thought was the best defense in football last season. You got the Eagles, who was a top 5 defense. Arguably could have been better than Jacksonville's. Depends on honestly what your opinion is. You got the Vikings, who have got a solid defense. Saints got a solid defense, but they're not on that level yet. The Rams, like I said, probably got the best defense in football as of right now. Obviously, we got to see how the draft shakes up and all that. And then let's see. The AFC, you got, like I said, you got the Jags, but everyone else, I mean, maybe the Texans when you got J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless healthy, but, I mean, when are they healthy? Let's be honest here. And in the AFC West, we got to see what the Broncos defense does this year. Again, like I said, this past season, I'm going to continue to say, all right, that defense was bad because of the fact that you got Brock Osweiler, Paxton Lynch, and Trevor Siemian playing quarterback. All right, there's no difference from me being out there. I can go 3 and out just as much as they can. All right, not a big deal. But either way, Rams got a good defense. Give me your thoughts on the move and how you think this positions them as far as the NFC West and I guess the rest of the NFC goes.
Well, they're still a team to beat in the NFC West coming off that division win last year. But adding Ndamukong Suh in that center nose tackle position in the interior line with Aaron Donald is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Look out those NFC quarterbacks who's got to play him two times a year. You could say it's probably a little response to the fact that Jimmy G is now popped in San Francisco. I mean, obviously you still got Russell Wilson, and then Arizona looking to either use Sam Bradford for the year, or they're going to draft a quarterback and put him behind Sam Bradford. So all those NFC teams got to be on watch, especially the ones in the West. Regarding the Rams, I mean, they definitely revamped that defense. I mean, Tremaine Johnson did leave, but they add 2 Pro Bowl corners on the outside with Aqib Talib and Peters. We'll see how that will affect the locker room. Both those guys have had some issues with tempers in the past, but definitely Ndamukong Suh. He's that veteran, big game man in the middle. I mean, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, especially with Aaron Donald running those games in the middle.
And you mentioned Sam Bradford. I mean, the poor guy. Dude can't stay healthy to save his life. All right, I don't know how. He's the ultimate businessman. You got guys like Floyd Mayweather. You got your LeBron Jameses, all right, top businessmen in sports, Tiger Woods, and then you got Sam Bradford. Dude's cashing in $20 million a year, every year, somehow, some way. I don't know. It's just...
I want his agent. Who's his agent?
Yeah, whoever Sam Bradford's agent is, let us know who you are, all right, and start representing us. But either way, like Sam Bradford, that's going to be tough for him. The poor guy can't play more than at least, what I'm going to say, over, under. This is real. I'm really asking you this. Over, under 10 games this season. Is he going on over, or is he going to be under, getting hurt before that?
With Suh in the middle now, playing for the Rams, I'm gonna say under, because that knee, he almost lost it. They said he almost lost his leg, or he wasn't ever going to be able to play again on that knee. He had to get 2 different surgeries last year. I mean, whoever the backup for Blaine Gabbert, I guess, for the Cardinals, they got to be ready. Or if they're going to draft a quarterback, maybe trade up in that draft and get a quarterback. Better be ready, because I mean, I would not count 10 games. Yeah, probably take the under on that one. Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense, because with Sam Bradford, I feel kind of bad. We're talking about the dude's injuries. You'd never want a guy to get hurt, and that's not what we're saying or anything like that.
It's a pattern, Jesse.
Yeah, that's all it is. The dude's hurt every year, and he's still making money. I think he has made more money than anyone else in the NFL, because let's not forget, he came into the league as a rookie before they had the rookie cap, and that dude became, just from the jump, before he even played it down, the highest paid player in the NFL. So with Sam Bradford, you got to be worried there. All right. Thomas mentioned the 49ers, and that's kind of what I thought too when they were traded for Talib and Marcus Peters. They're gearing up for Jimmy G, and not only Jimmy G. You got Russell Wilson out there. I'll talk about the Seahawks in a moment, but yeah, with Jimmy G out there, I mean, they won 6 games in a row last season with him coming. I think the first game they won, he came off the bench and pretty much led them down the field or something like that. I think it was against the Bears or some team. I can't remember exactly. Seahawks. All right, so they did that, and then with Russell Wilson, I mean, the Seahawks are a team where they lost a lot of players on defense. I think they lost Sherman. They've lost Bennett. They got rid of Jeremy Lane. And it looks like they're still thinking of trading Earl Thomas. Cam Chancellor, you got to see what's going on with him and his injuries. Same with Cliff Averill. But as far as the offense goes, I mean, you still got a very good coach in Pete Carroll. And you got a top quarterback in the league in Russell Wilson. Whether you think he's top 5 or I'm going to go top 7 as his little cap right there. I think he is one of the 7 best quarterbacks in the league. So, I mean, when you got those 2 out there, you're still going to have a chance to win. But like I said, with the 49ers, you could have argued they already did have one of the best defenses in the league last year. I still would have went with Jacksonville's and Phillies before them. You could argue between Minnesota's and the Rams after that. But now you got Suh. You got Marcus Peters, who's had 21 interceptions since 2015, which is the most in the league since that time. And you got Aqib Talib, who was a part of that Denver defense. It was an all-time great defense when they won the Super Bowl that season. Last year, like I said, I mean, they were on the field pretty much. Let's say they played 60 minutes in a football game. About 58 minutes of that time, they were on the field playing defense. So, I mean, I can't really knock them there. So we'll see if Talib could step it up this year. And I just really like the way they've been playing. I mean, I've been telling you guys they've been a top 4 team in the NFC even before they got Suh, and now they kind of leapfrogged them over the top 2 team. All right, I'm still making Philly my number 1 team in the NFC just because of the fact that they brought in guys like Haloti Ngata. You brought in Mike Wallace, so I think it's going to be a very good signing. All right, I think Mike Wallace is going to play well for that team, especially with Wentz coming back. And one thing, too, with the Eagles, I mean, Nick Foles, he's probably going to be the starter for the first couple of games that season. Like I've said before, I feel bad for the guy because of the fact that all these other teams signed free agent quarterbacks. So Nick Foles,
you think he's going to get paid next year?
He might get paid as a backup, but I just don't really see him. I just don't really see him getting paid as like a starting quarterback for a different team. Like if it was going to be any year, it was this year because his value was so high, just coming off of a Super Bowl win, knocking off Tom Brady. Dude played amazing in that Super Bowl too. I I wasn't a believer in Nick Foles from the time he came in up until the end of the Super Bowl, for being real here. All right, just the throws he made in the Super Bowl were ridiculous and very good. So now I'm a believer. With Nick Foles, I don't want to say if I'm a believer. Okay, I think Nick Foles is a good quarterback when he's got top players around him. You send him to a team like when he went to, didn't he go to the
Rams?
Yeah, the Rams. Had no talent. He's not a guy that's going to make you better. All right, kind of like a Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick, when he's with those 49er teams, was a monster. All right, Colin Kaepernick, when he had Jeremy Curley as his number one receiver, kind of bad. All right, that's probably, I'm not even going to get into Colin Kaepernick. But either way, like I said, I mean, the Rams, getting back to them. All right, they're a top team. You got Jared Goff, who had a monster year with Sean McVay as the first-time head coach. Todd Gurley, I mean, was free from the pretty much locks of Jeff Fisher. You guys all know I'm the president of the anti-Jeff Fisher club. All right, and like my top 4 teams right now, it'd be the Eagles at number 1, Rams at number 2, Saints at 3, and then Vikings at 4. But I mean, the Saints and Vikings could be interchangeable. I'm not saying this, but I mean, this is all before the draft. Who do you have as your top 4 teams, and like, what do you like about the teams you have in your top 4?
In the NFC?
Yeah.
In the NFC, we're going to go, I like the Saints. I mean, obviously, we got the defending champions. The Eagles will probably put them up there because you do have Carson Wentz coming back, and that guy, he's a transcendent talent with Carson Wentz and his mobility, but we'll see how that knee heals up. He should be all right. He's a tough guy. He's already been throwing around. But I like the Saints number 2. Probably throw in the Vikings. We'll see how they just have that roster talent. I mean, those 2 receivers on the outside with Thielen and who's that little guy?
Diggs.
Stephon Diggs, yeah, obviously. And then obviously Kyle Rudolph with the new quarterback in
Cousins.
In Kirk Cousins. And obviously now they have that running back coming back from the injury, and then they have Mr. Murray. So I mean, they have that roster defense. Obviously, haven't gotten to the defense. That was just the offense. So I'm thinking that the Vikings team is primed for that, primed for a playoff run. They're going to battle with the Eagles and the Saints, and then probably stick the Rams underneath them at number 4. There's going to be a tough battle in the West because I think Jimmy G is still going to throw that ball really well the way he came out last year. But I mean, the Rams, they definitely have come up in that trade market, come up in that free agent market, and they're gonna get going because they have to defend Jimmy G.
Yeah, you got the Rams a little bit lower than I do, but I mean, like I said, all these top 4 teams in the NFC right now, it's all very interchangeable. And after that, I mean, it's not like you got the Packers, you got the Lions, who I think is going to be a very good team with Matt Patricia. Hopefully he brings that Patriots philosophy to that team because that's what they need. You got Matt Stafford, who I think is a top 5 quarterback without a doubt. All right. And you got Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, who have played well. And the defense, you got some pretty good, solid players there. So I think it's just a matter of with the Lions, just pretty much building a culture there. NFC South, I mean, they put 3 teams in the playoffs last year. Plus, I think the Bucs are going to be better than what they were last season. I mean, Jameis Winston, with him, you guys know my thing with Jameis Winston is the fact that I think he's got all the tools to become a top quarterback in the league. It's just a matter of he's got to be smarter and pretty much limit his turnovers. And then in NFC East, you got the Giants and Cowboys who could be taking a step up. And speaking of the Giants, looks like they might be shopping OBJ possibly. And we're going to be talking about him in the next segment. So actually, we're going to cut it here. All right, like I said, next segment, we're going to be talking about Odell Beckham Jr., talk about maybe if he would just pretty much spend a segment as far as talking about OBJ, talk about the Giants and possible landing spots for him if he were to get traded. So we'll be right back and stay tuned.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, so first segment, me and Thomas. Tom, he wants to go by Tom. I'm going to call him Tom, all right? From now on, I'm going to call him Tom. It's Tom. All right, like I said, first segment, though, we talked about The Rams. I don't know why. Sometimes I just draw a blank as far as what we talk about. We talked about the Rams, talked about Suh, talked about what it means for that team. All right, and then for this segment, we got Odell Beckham Jr. All right, had that video come out, was with some pizza, had some ladies in his room, and some other stuff.
Some indesirable substances.
Yeah, not sure really what you want to call it because, I mean, we're podcasters, but in a way, we've also blogged before, so we got to be distinguished journalists. All right, we're not going to assume or anything like that. So we had some white powdery substance. Not exactly sure what it was, but nonetheless, that's what the video consisted of. And then now you got all this trade talk, all right, with OBJ coming out. And I think today, John Mara, the Giants owner, came out and said that they're not trading him. Dave Gettleman, the GM of the new GM of the Giants, said that you don't give away talent. But if you've paid attention to the NFL, you know that when these statements come out, it's more so, oh yeah, we're not trading him, but the little message behind the actual message is, yeah, give us about a first-round pick, or we're going to drive up the value. So if you give us something we like, then yeah, we'll make the deal. And I think that's what we're going through right here. I think OBJ, I mean, you got Adam Schefter tweeting out pretty much the NFL's Adrian Wojnarowski, all right, tweeting out that OBJ could be traded by or on draft day, okay? And with Odell Beckham Jr., obviously most of this comes from his, well, it's like there's a lot of things that tie into this whole thing, all right, because of the fact that you had the video come out. OBJ there's been, I don't know if he said it or it's just someone leaked it out that he's not going to play in 2018 unless he gets a long-term extension, which I'm okay with. All right? You guys, if you've been listening long enough, you know that I'm all for these players getting paid. Okay? I'd rather players get paid rather than the owners keep their money. All right? That's just how it is. I mean, you see it in the NBA. These guys are starting to pretty much, I don't want to say play for themselves, but they're starting to make decisions, business decisions. All right? I think OBJ's doing that. And with OBJ, I mean, he had, the ankle injury, I think it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had the ankle injury, which ended his season. And before that, he was a top 5 receiver in the NFL. All right? And OBJ's kind of got this thing where people are starting not to like him, so they're kind of starting to discredit what he's done so far and saying, oh, he's overrated. Check the stats. All right? Check the stats. And then for those of you that, because I know there's those of you out there saying, oh, but he hasn't won anything. He's a wide receiver. Wide receivers don't really, unless you're Jerry Rice, really affect wins and losses. Okay? It's just how it is. Terrell Owens, top 3 receiver all time. Played on some pretty bad 49ers teams. I will admit that he was a big part of that Eagles team where they went to the Super Bowl. All right, I'll never forget what he played with a broken foot, I think it was.
Broken leg.
Broken leg, yeah. Yeah. Terrell Owens, all right. Me and Thomas were talking about before the show how it was, well, yesterday actually, you should say, how Terrell Owens is kind of like a travesty that the guy didn't get in first ballot, right?
Well, I mean, he was that player where he never really did anything wrong. He just was a diva. He was a receiver. I mean, that's what he did. He did some sit-ups in his front yard, and he threw his quarterback under the bus because Donovan McNabb was being a diva in himself, probably. But he's probably my number 3 receiver of all time if you want to go Rice, Moss, and Owens, because I mean, he played on a broken leg. He's dragged teams single-handedly to the playoffs. I mean, he likes to be all show, but I mean, he was a supreme talent. Yeah,
and even with the Donovan McNabb thing, I remember seeing that, pretty much kind of like an endorsement, all right? To keep Owens long-term, he was like, oh, you want him back? And McNabb he didn't say yes, and he didn't say no. Pretty much stayed silent. And that did rub Terrell Owens the wrong way. And like you said, with Terrell Owens being a deal, yes, I'll admit, yeah, he was, no doubt. All right, Terrell Owens' biggest problem wasn't DUIs, nothing like that. Never got into trouble. All right, the reason why he was so unliked is because he was just the loudest person in the room. That's it, all right? And I think that's kind of fair for the Pro Football Hall of Fame voters to leave a guy like that just because he was loud, all right? I mean, I don't know, that's neither here nor there, though. We're talking about OBJ, and, speaking of divas, I mean, Randy Moss was one, and then you said you have Bryce, Moss, and then Owens is your top 3?
Yeah, and Chris Carter probably around there, too.
Yeah, that's a nice little solid top 4 right there. I think my top 3 would be, I think I'm going to go Moss at number 1, then it'd be Rice, then Owens, all right? Just Moss was just,
He literally had a verb for doing something.
Yeah,
you got moss.
Yes, in basketball, you hit a shot, you crumple up some paper, throw it into the trash can or whatever. Even if you're playing pickup, you're yelling Kobe. All right. If you make a catch over someone, you're saying they got moss. All right. Randy Moss was just was 6'4", I think it was quick, could run routes very well. I mean, dude was just a monster. But getting back to the whole OBJ thing. Yeah, with OBJ, it's just a matter of, he's a top receiver in the league when he's healthy. Obviously, let's not forget that. But it's just a matter of now, it's like, do the Giants want to deal with the diva. And that's what OBJ is. He's fallen into that category of a Randy Moss and a Terrell Owens. And honestly, I don't even know if I want to say that, actually. I'm going to backtrack because obviously we have OBJ in that video, all right? But I don't think that necessarily makes you a diva. I think that makes you a person who makes bad decisions, all right? But OBJ has never really been someone who's been outspoken. He's always showed up to work. Obviously, he's a little bit more out there as far as his personality.
He's had a bad relationship with the kicking net.
Yeah, he's had a bad relationship with the kicking net. All right, he likes to have fun. He's a 20-year-old in the NFL who's a great player, but I don't think he's like the Terrell Owens where he's throwing the quarterback under the bus. If anything, I think he's been very good with Eli. He never really said anything bad about Eli when, anyone could say whatever they want about Eli. And speaking of that, now that I have you on the show right here, I think Eli's first ballot Hall of Famer. What do you think?
Well, he got those 2 rings. Obviously, he beat Brady. He's the only guy to beat Brady. Other than now, we got Nick Foles. But, he's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's part of that Manning family. He's put up the numbers. Obviously, he's deteriorated a little bit more as he's gotten older. But, those two rings speak for themselves. And he did that without a big – he had Plaxico Burress and then obviously the big play with David Tyree. But, OBJ wasn't there for those. That was Manning all the way.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, with OBJ, he's never really thrown Manning under the bus. The only reason why I guess you could consider OBJ a diva is because of the fact that he doesn't want to play this year until he gets a long-term extension. And if you think about it, and again, fans usually get caught up in the whole, we pay your salary, like those type fans and all that. You do pay a little percentage of it. All right, let's not get too carried away, though. But as far as OBJ, all right, wanting to get a long-term extension before he goes out there, let me tell you this, all right? Let's say you're working a corporate office job, whatever, all right? And you have really no security, but they're telling you to come to work, and you have the opportunity to pretty much say, no, pay me what I want, and then I'll come in. Are you going to do that? Or are you pretty much just going to go get paid the same thing, the same little amount that you are, even though you're producing big time, and there's a chance that you can get fired or in OBJ's career hurt, all right? Wouldn't it be the smarter opportunity to pretty much make that money and then go out there just so you're set for life? All right, people say, oh, yeah, these NFL players are making a lot of money. Yeah, they are, but we got to realize that the lifestyle that they live because of the money that they have is a little bit different. So we got to pretty much understand all that. And I understand, they should be like us, like frugal and stuff like that, not spend too much money. I give you $500 million, or not 500, it's a little over the top, a couple $1 million. I give myself a couple $1 million. I'm going to be buying a large meal at McDonald's instead of the medium and stuff like that, But either way, I'm going to be splurging a bit. So you get that. But either way, like let's say with OBJ, you got the Rams who are kind of inquiring, all right? They're like, hey, Gettleman, what's going on with OBJ? What do you want for the guy? So they're asking around, all right? The Rams that we talked about in the last segment, they go out. I think they could offer the 23rd pick in the first round. I'm sure they're going to have to give up maybe a 4th-round pick, too. A 1st and a 4th-round pick would be pretty nice there. They may have to give up a little bit more, possibly. But, you got a guy who's coming off of an injury, too. So this value's a little bit low there. Plus, you got to pay him. And with the Rams, that's a bit of a risky move there, okay? Like I said, I like OBJ. I've spent this segment so far talking nice about him, but it's just a matter of you're going to have to give him a long-term extension. Just what do you think as far as OBJ on the Rams? Do you think that would be a little bit too much, or you think it could work?
It'd be too much in the long run. Short term, obviously, they probably could figure it out because it's a trade, and they could structure it a certain way where the Giants will take some of the current salary. But if he wants that long term extension, they got to pay too many guys. So they got to pay Jared Goff, they got to pay Aaron Donald, they got to pay Todd Gurley, and those are big ticket names. Those are almost max. That's kind of the NBA term is a max contract, but in the NFL, it's still a salary cap league where you got to come up under that cap. And they got a lot of guys who are going to come up and ask him for a payday. So I think OBJ would just be a little too much to be asking for them right now.
Yeah, let's try to get that there, too. Because like you said, you take it over to the AFC South, you got a team like Jacksonville, okay? You got your Jalen Ramseys. You got your Miles Jacks. Leonard Fournette is going to need to get paid in a few years, okay? You got a bunch of young receivers that they're going with. Dudes have not been in the league more than 2 years except for Marquise Lee, which I think, did they bring back Marquise Lee?
Yeah, and they obviously have Malik Jackson, but he's already been paid.
Yeah, he's already been paid. And then you got, I don't know how to pronounce the other defensive, I think it's like Ngouke or something like that, Yannick Ngouke or something like that. I need someone to tell me. If you got someone, call into the show, do something, let me know. If you see me on the street or whatever, let me know. All right, what his last name's pronounced. All right, maybe I should have to search it up. Maybe ask Siri, how do you pronounce his last name? But you're going to have to pay him, too. He's a very young player also. So what they did, with Blake Bortles, okay, you gave him a very quarterback-friendly deal, $18 million a year, and that's pretty much like the minimum you're giving for a quarterback. And let's say Blake Bortles doesn't work out or whatever, which I think he might. He played pretty well in the playoffs, but if he doesn't, in a couple years when his deal is up, by the time you got to pay all those other guys, you can draft a rookie quarterback. You're not going to have to pay for another few years. All right, the Jacksonville Jaguars have it figured out to where we can pay our younger guys right now when the time comes, and if Bortles doesn't work out, or if he does work out, let's say he's not taking up too much of the cap. And if he doesn't work out, then we could draft a rookie. We don't got to pay it for another 4 years or so. All right, so the Jaguars haven't worked out. But with the Rams, I mean, it's just a matter of you got Goff. You got Gurley, like Tom said. All right, you got Donald. You're going to have to pay them. You're going to have to pay Donald by the end of this year or maybe next year. Goff, I think this is his third year. Next year, you're going to have to pay him if you think he's the future. Gurley, a top running back in the league. You're going to have to pay him. I just don't, like if the Rams were to trade for OBJ, cool. But now it's just a matter of, I think you're doing a bit too much and you got other fish to fry on your team. All right. And I mean, as far as like anywhere else, I mean, it's not like just the Rams that could be going after a guy like OBJ. And like the Rams have been the only team that have really been linked to him, I guess you could say. But
other than Jarvis Landry trying
Jarvis Landry trying to get him to the
Browns actually would be interesting because they probably have the most to offer the Giants as it comes to picks. But they also have probably the most cap space as well because Jarvis has been basically trying to recruit OBJ to come make a reunion regarding the LSU receivers.
Yeah, that's true there. What do you think about the San Francisco 49ers? They got $46 million left in cap space. You got a top pick. You got the quarterback of the future. I like Trent Taylor. I like George Kittle. I like Marquise Goodwin. I think re-signing him for a three-year extension was a big move there. Garcon coming back. That's the one thing, too. You're paying Garcon a lot of money with the 49ers, and you do have a young defensive line, but I know that they do want to fix up. With Reuben Foster, too, I think Richard Sherman kind of gives him some breathing room as far as taking a corner with the first pick. With Reuben Foster still kind of figuring out that whole legal matter he's got going on. Maybe you take a linebacker, but you think OBJ would be an option for the 49ers?
The numbers could give you that because I mean they obviously missed on Allen Robinson going to the Bears, but I feel like him and John Lynch probably wouldn't gel that well. I feel like John Lynch is kind of a do it my way, kind of be the right guy, be a good NFL man, and OBJ being that young player, he's going to have to figure that out, and I don't think he wouldn't gel well, and he would. But the thing is, if you think about the Kyle Shanahan offense, it would be pretty nice because he would fit right in that slot receiver or have that being the number one spot on the outside.
Yeah, that's true there with the whole John Lynch thing. You get the OBJ video, like I said, it's a lot of, like, the video is going to come back and scare a lot of teams away, and I'm just, like I said, with John Lynch, I mean, that makes sense there too, because with Reuben Foster, I mean, he's had a couple of run-ins so far in his career already, so you got to figure out what's going on there, and I'm not even sure if they'll bring Foster back if, like, the whole legal matter gets a little bit worse. And then you mentioned the Browns, they still got $70 million left in cap space. You do have to give Jarvis Landry a long-term deal. They have yet to do that. But even then, so you give him whatever, $14, $15 million a year, you still got enough to pay a guy like OBJ. You could pay me a lot of money if they wanted to. Browns, let me know. I could probably kick for you guys. I used to play soccer. Maybe I could play in the slot. Who knows? But either way, with the Browns, that's a possibility there. You get the first and fourth pick of the first round. And then you got like 6 picks before the third, like up until the end of the third round, I think it is. You have a lot of picks to show for. All right. Maybe OBJ is a guy you could bring in. Corey Coleman is a guy who's been injured, so you could move him to the bench, be your fourth receiver, and even then, so he's got a lot of value left. You can probably get a third-round pick out of Corey Coleman or even a fourth if you bring in a guy like OBJ. So I do like that fit in Cleveland. Let's see any other teams that he could really fit in with. I mean, I don't see the Colts really making a move. I'm just looking at the teams with the top cap space right here. Like the Rams, they still got $35 million left in cap. Maybe the New York Jets possibly could be a team like that, but they have bigger fish to fry. They can't really give up a first-round pick. They just traded up, which I forgot about, so that kind of takes them out of the running. Houston's not going to be a team. Chicago's got Allen Robinson. Minnesota's got their guys. Tampa Bay just gave Mike Evans a long-term deal. Arizona, you got Larry Fitzgerald, but I just don't see Arizona really making that type of deal. I mean, really, if a team's going to trade for OBJ, it's going to be one of the... I think it's going to be the Rams, the Browns, or the 49ers, and then you kind of swayed me away from the 49ers, but I just don't really see any real takers for OBJ unless you're going to have a lot of cap space come after the year.
We got Tennessee sitting right there, if I'm seeing that right, but I mean, they just made 2 big acquisitions in the free agent market, so that number could have gone down, or they're pretty much okay in that realm, but that'd be interesting seeing OBJ going down south.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, Tennessee, that does kind of make sense. You got $45 million left in cap, and I know they do like Corey Davis, so maybe you're going to make him your top receiver. He's going to have a nice little breakout game in the playoffs against the Patriots, but nonetheless, I mean, we'll see about it. But that's actually going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking about the catch rule, all right? They ended up fixing it, so we're going to be talking about that, talking about pretty much whatever the catch rule has to do with. Maybe we'll throw some other things in there to talk about, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to Extreme Cage Fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. So far today, we've talked the Rams getting Suh. I like that move. I think that makes them the best defense in the league. Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh is going to be a disgusting defensive tackle pairing. All right, probably the best defensive tackle pairing in the history of the NFL. I know Eagles fans think Fletcher Cox and whoever they have on the defensive line is better, but it's not. It is what it is. You got Peters on the secondary along with Talib, and they possibly could be looking at a guy like OBJ to bring in through a trade. And with OBJ, we talked about OBJ, I should say, not OBJ, but OBJ. Yeah. Either way, you know what I'm talking about. All right. We talked about him possibly getting traded. The Rams are looking at him, could possibly give up their first round pick for him. And with him, I mean, it's just a matter of the guy's gotten a bad rap. I don't think rightfully so. All right. People label him a diva, but it's just a matter of he's just a young guy having fun. And I mean, I can't knock the guy for wanting to get paid before he goes out to play this season because of the fact that he's coming off of a season-ending injury. So we'll see about that. But yeah, those were the two topics we talked about in the first two segments. This segment, we're going to be talking about the good old catch rule. All right. Obviously, there's been a lot going on, a lot of controversy with it ever since Dez Bryant's non-catch, I should say, against Green Bay. If you remember that, Dez Bryant, I think Tony Romo was a quarterback still that year.
Yep.
Yeah. So Tony Romo throws it to Dez. That's a playoff game, I believe it was, and Dez, I mean, catches it, brings it in, takes 2 feet, or takes 2 steps or whatever, then reaches out, and it was on a 4th down, I think it was too, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so the ball kind of just slipped out of his hand as he was reaching out.
Yeah, and even then, so I feel like he hit the ground, and then, like, it's not like it was coming out mid reaching out or anything. That just came out after, but nonetheless, they called it they said it wasn't a catch. All right, ever since then, it's been Dez caught it. I still see that under Sports Center tweets and stuff like that, just randomly. Dez caught it from other accounts and stuff like that, but nonetheless,
it's a conspiracy, Jesse.
It might be. I mean, at one point Dallas was America's team, but now they're kind of shining the way. Now the Patriots have become America's team. And the Patriots, let me tell you, right, they only got a few more years until dominance. All right, once Brady's gone or Belichick, let me tell you, Josh McDaniels is not keeping that franchise up. All right, just think about it. The dude's gonna have to go from coaching under Bill Belichick, the legacy Bill Belichick leaves. You think McDaniels is really going to be able to continue that? Continue the dominance? There's no way. But either way, catch rule's fixed up. You know what exactly the rules are with it?
So yeah, the competition committee did recommend the new rules that were just voted on unanimously by the owners, 32-0. So they're just basically simplifying. They're taking away that whole bring it to the ground, the whole secondary part where it was like you had to complete the catch all the way to the ground. Now we're just saying 1, control, 2 feet down or another body part. So I mean, like an elbow or your leg, your quad counts as like 2 feet. Basically, if you're going out of bounds, and then basically that football move, that third step or reaching for the goal line or line to gain or goal line. or the ability to perform and act like a football move. Because basically what they were saying is that these guys were catching it and they were still doing a football move, but then because they got hit and coming to the ground, the ball comes out, they didn't catch the ball, they didn't complete the catch to the ground. So they basically got rid of that part of it, the fact that you have to complete the catch to the ground, whatever they thought that meant.
Yeah, I mean, there was, like Thomas said, whatever that meant, and there was no consistency with the catch rule, at all. All right, you never really knew, is this a catch? You had the Jesse James catch against non-catch, I guess, against the Patriots this season, and I actually think that one wasn't a catch. Did you check that one? Did you see that?
Yeah, I mean, he was that would, under these rules, that would be a catch because he was coming around. I mean, under the previous rules, it wasn't because he did not survive the ground. And the whole idea was, I remember growing up ground can't cause a fumble, but it can cause an incompletion, I guess, because he didn't control the ball. And when he was making that reach to the goal line, the ball comes out, just like Dez was. And now they're saying that it already is a catch. He caught the ball, he turned around, he caught it. Now he's diving, and once he crosses the goal line, he's a runner. And would be a touchdown now with these new rules. Yeah,
and then even then, so I mean, they were trying to compare that whole Jesse James thing with Zach Ertz's touchdown in the Super Bowl, and that was a catch. That was nothing like the Jesse James one. Jesse James caught it, turned, dove for the end zone. Zach Ertz literally caught it, took a few steps, and the ball didn't even hit the ground. All right, the ball came, his hand was under the ball, then it came up and he caught it midair. So I don't really understand why we were trying to compare it to that. If anything, the Corey Clement catch in the Super Bowl was one you could argue wasn't a catch because he brought it in, kind of moved around a bit and didn't get, after he secured it, after it moved around a bit, did not get his 2 feet in. Did you think that one was a catch?
Yeah, I thought that one was a catch because I think that's something else that they kind of clarified in these rules is the whole idea of control. He wasn't bobbling it. The ball was not out of the realm of his possession. The ball shifted points maybe in the crook of his arm, but in that snap second, I mean, he caught the ball. It was lodged in his arm and may have shifted a degree or two, but he never lost control of the ball, in my opinion. So I think that was a catch, yeah.
Yeah, so either way, though, there's that. And then we got Calvin Johnson, the forgotten one. Remember against the Bears, I think it was, where he caught it. It's supposed to be the game winner, I think it was.
Yeah, it was the back of the end zone.
Yeah, he caught it. Went down, pretty much put the ball on.
He was getting up from the catch, and he put the ball on the ground to get up, and they called it incomplete.
Yeah, so that happened, and I don't know. I'm starting a little conspiracy. Maybe that was one of the reasons why Calvin Johnson decided to retire so early. We were cheated out of Calvin Johnson.
The fact that he played in Detroit.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, Barry Sanders could attest to that, but just Calvin Johnson. All right, so for me, I guess it's a bit of a hot take. Even with the short time that Calvin Johnson played, I still think he's a top 10 receiver all time. Would you think so?
Absolutely. I mean, he's Megatron. Imagine if Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson played for the Rams, or for the Chargers or something like that, or in a bigger market. Back, they're stuck up in the frozen Detroit area, and I mean I'm sorry for that franchise though. They kind of changed their logo. They're trying to make it fresh, but it's still the team that went 0-16.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's the Browns obviously, but they kind of got forgotten. What a tandem they were. But imagine if that was in a bigger market.
And even then, so I mean, you kind of brought up the 0-16 season. Which 0-16 season do you think was worse? The Rams, or not the Rams, the Lions or the Browns? I think the Lions was, just because
the Lions one was worse because the Browns were in games a lot. We were talking to Tate earlier. He said that the Browns were leading through 3 quarters. They were kind of just blowing leads at the end. The Lions were getting smashed. The Lions were not in any of those games. I mean, they were obviously in a rough NFC North division with the Bears and the Packers playing pretty well. But, I mean, they were not in any of those games. So they were basically an Alabama college team.
Yeah, and I think even with that 0-16 season, I think that was Megatron's first season, and the next year they got Stafford, I think, out of Georgia. I think. I don't know. Yeah? Mm-hmm. All right, so yeah, that happened. But either way, with the catch rule, I mean, it's about time. I mean, there's been so much inconsistency and just so much just controversy around it. And now more so, I think that's one less thing we got to worry about. Obviously, the NFL's got a whole lot of other things I think they got to fix. I mean, I don't think they'll ever fix, what do you think of the, we're going to turn this into an NFL rulebook segment right here, but what do you think of the, the defenseless receivers? Let's say, the guy catches it, turns, and then he gets lit up. Not even get hit in the head, just gets hit in the chest, and they call it a foul in defense, hitting a defenseless receiver. What do you think of that? You think it's a good
now
rule?
They're all going for that safety, and I'm seeing now on our headlines that they're outlawing any hit with the crown of the helmet. Like you said, even if it was a hit to the head, that's for NFL safety purposes. I understand that, but I mean, when you got guys flying through the air and what do you expect these DBs to do? What do you expect these defensive backs to do? I mean, they're flying, get these guys. They're being paid to bring these guys down to stop a completion or impede their process. I mean, they can't just stop on a dime. It's really tough, or they're going to miss the guy. They're going to pull that rookie who missed Stephon Diggs last year.
Oh, yeah, Marcus
Williams. I mean, that's going to happen a lot. I mean, you're going to see a lot of those plays because these guys aren't able to complete their play. I mean, obviously, there must be some way they can safely bring somebody down. You have to protect the receivers. They are defenseless. It doesn't make sense. But these flags are sometimes coming out a little too quickly.
Yeah, that's true there. And I mean, just imagine, think about, because obviously this wasn't a rule in the mid-2000s. Just think about, you got Ed Reed playing the Steelers, all right? Hines Ward's going down the middle of the field on a slant. Roethlisberger hits him, and then Ed Reed lights him up. Just imagine how many times Ed Reed would have got suspended or fined if we had these rules around during his time.
How many times Troy Polamalu would have got fined?
Yeah, and that's just one thing too. I mean, those mid-2000s Ravens Steelers rivalry games were the best. I mean, you got Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, a younger Terrell Suggs. All right, then you got Hines Ward. The dude was pretty much one of the best things about Hines Ward. He wasn't like a great receiver or anything like that. He was a good receiver, but he's a guy who could hit you. He could block and he could hit you. He'll light you up, kind of like how Juju Smith-Schuster did with Vontaze Burfict this year.
Oh, I love that play.
Yeah,
that was not a foul, by the way. No, in my opinion, not a foul.
Yeah, I don't think it was either, but Hines Ward was laying out those hits, and the best thing about Hines Ward is he wouldn't come back, oh yeah, I just had a hit. He'd come back smiling. All right, Hines Ward, even if he got hit, every time you see him come back to the huddle, he had the biggest smile on his face. It's just kind of weird, almost like I don't know if it was like a psychological thing, but the dude was always smiling. So it was always
big game receiver. He made those catches. I mean, he made Big Ben look good.
Yeah. And even then, so like I said, just imagine we had those rules back then. But one thing I hope the NFL does not adopt is kind of what college football does with the targeting rule. You think it's, what is it? You get hit with a targeting rule, you get ejected for the game?
Yeah, so they have, in college, if you get flagged, it's a discretion of the referee to review it for targeting. So, I mean, it's basically as if I don't think that's something that the NFL, I don't think, is ever going to adopt, because the reason why they have it in college is for another safety measure. Basically, the NFL, everything's targeting. You're targeting people. You are trying to get them on the ground. College, they want to teach proper technique to wrap up and to get people down. And obviously, you don't have these big NFL receivers in college. But no, they're not going. That's something that should not happen in the NFL, because it's going to lose more and more of this. We're going to go even more towards offense. It's already shifted enough towards offense with all these rules protecting the passer, which I actually do agree with, because the quarterbacks, when they have all those guys around them, they need to be able to be protected, obviously, where you have a target of hitting zone, because they got big 300-pound guys coming after them. But when it comes to a DB hitting a receiver, they're pretty much the same size kind of guys, or even if sometimes the receiver's bigger. You got to be able to have a real tackle.
Yeah, so I just the targeting rule. I mean, I'm more of an NFL fan than I am college fan, so I guess do whatever, have whatever rules you want in college, but do not bring the targeting rules to the NFL, please. All right. So we got a bunch of rules, like Tom said earlier. Now the NFL's outlawing any hit with the crown of the helmet. We got the catch rule that's fixed up, and we talked a bit about the whole defensive receiver rule and stuff like that. I think it's the first time we ever done a segment where we just talked about the rules, but nonetheless, it's the off season. It's what we do. Like I said, day 52, I said it was, without football games. So either way, that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, as you know, we always do on this show, talk about whatever else is going on in the world of football, anything that crosses my mind, or maybe Thomas has some things he wants to talk about. So we'll be doing that for the next segment. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. Me and Tom have been co-hosting the show. We talked Rams, getting Suh. We talked OBJ. Last segment, we talked about the rules of the NFL, talked about the catch rule. And then for this segment, as we always do on this show, we're going to talk about whatever else is going on in the world of football. So let's get right into it. All right, Johnny Football. I think I mentioned it earlier. If not, we're mentioning it now. All right, Johnny Football went to Texas A&M's pro day. Was throwing to Christian Kirk, like I said. Possible first-round pick, receiver. All right, and Johnny Manziel, I haven't seen footage so far of him at his pro day in Texas A&M. I did see him at San Diego. Throws look pretty good, but again, it's just the whole quarterback throwing footballs and shorts kind of thing there. So, I mean, we never really know how good he really is until we actually see him in game action. That's the thing right there. When are we going to see Johnny Manziel in NFL action, if we ever are? I mean, what do you think of the whole Johnny Manziel?
Well, I think now it's like his route's going to end. He's going to play football. He needs to go somewhere like Canada. He needs to go somewhere where he's going to be able to show off his talent. But I mean, he's not an NFL quarterback. He's not. I mean, not only is he too short, he doesn't really have the mentality for it. Doesn't have the mind for it. I mean, the only quarterbacks that were able to really succeed at that size is Drew Brees and Russell Wilson, and they're like one of the most outstanding citizens we've got. Johnny likes to go partying. He likes to have his fun. He likes to go and get with his girls. And I mean, he's a college kid. He's a rich college kid from a rich family. I mean, he's got to go maybe get away from that, get out of the country, go up to Canada where it's nice and cold and isolate and really focus on football, because that's the only way he's going to get back to the NFL. Yeah,
that's one thing too. Johnny Manziel's been on a bit of a PR campaign talking about how he is past all that stuff and ready to start playing football and focusing and all that. But like Tom said, I mean, like what Tom said is what other NFL GMs are thinking. I'm very sure of it. All right, it's just the whole, which Johnny Manziel are we getting? Are we getting the supposed new one on this little PR campaign, or are we going to get the old Johnny Manziel? And Johnny Manziel's came out and said if he doesn't work out in the NFL, at least for this season, he's going to go up to the CFL. And, I mean, that could work. I could see it where Johnny Manziel plays well in the CFL and pretty much doesn't get into any trouble or anything like that, which I think it's hard to get into trouble in Canada. There's only like 3 real major spots out there, and everything else is just frozen. But, either way, yeah, if it works out in Canada, maybe he gets a shot back into the NFL in a year or two to come be a backup, and maybe he just revives his career that way. I think it's just a matter of Johnny just wants to get back in the NFL and have a chance. But, I mean, like what Tom said as far as him being too short and not focusing enough and all that, like that is true. I think that Johnny Manziel, if he truly does have his head on straight and is ready to go, I think he could be successful. It's just a matter of what team is going to give him a chance, if any. And like with the whole Johnny Manziel thing, all right? One of my favorite college players of all time. Would like to see him back in the NFL, but just not sure when it happens, if it ever does. All right, one thing that got me thinking of too, we talked CFL and all that. Did you see that CBS put out an article saying that Vince Young was the biggest bust, I think, since like 2005 of quarterbacks?
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, CBS wasn't wrong there. I feel like he kind of, the Titans either weren't ready for him, or he was that college quarterback that, I mean, he had the size, but he just wasn't, he didn't have the Michael Vick mentality, Michael Vick arm, or he was just trying to be like him too much, trying to run around, whereas he couldn't get an offensive playbook down, whether he couldn't remember the playbook, remember all the plays. And quarterbacking is the hardest position in the league for a reason. I mean, you gotta be able to run that offense, and you gotta be able to look up, read defenses, make those checks, and when you're at Texas with Mac Brown, he basically just tells you what to do, and you do it, and your athletic ability is just going to take you over. But Vince Young, that's accurate right there.
I can see it, but let's not forget we did have a Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah, Jamarcus. Yeah.
I think we
thought of that right after I said I agreed, because I'm like, damn, Jamarcus, he did do that.
Yeah, like Jamarcus Russell, I think we've just completely wiped out Jamarcus Russell from our minds just because of the fact that was brutal. I mean, poor Raiders fans. All right, I got a lot of family that are Raiders fans. I'm not one myself, but I saw like they were like, oh, Jamarcus. Like, I remember the biggest thing with Jamarcus Russell. All right, I was he came in the league like 2005, I think it was, sometime around there. I was a little kid.
Yeah, 06.
10, 11.
It was the first pick overall. Probably the biggest bust for a first pick overall.
Yeah, it was 06, you said?
Yeah.
So I was 10 years, like at that time or whatever, maybe 9 or whatever. And I remember from that time, from me being 9, 10 years old, the biggest thing about Jamarcus Russell was, have you seen him throw the ball from his knees? He could throw it 90 yards from his knees or something like that. And that's what you kept hearing. Oh, he throws the ball well from his knees. And I'm like, oh, I guess he got a strong arm with him. That's what got him drafted number 1. And Al Davis, all right, rest in peace. Al Davis loved the gimmick players, all right? Drafted Jairus Hayward Bay instead of Michael Crabtree. He drafted all the fast receivers, all right? He could have had Crabtree. I remember, too, a draft night, all right? It was the Raiders had the 8th pick, I think it was. They take Hayward Bay. Then the ESPN crew goes over to Crabtree's, or didn't go over to Crabtree's table. A report, I can't remember who it was. I think it was she said there was a player in the room, and I think everyone knew that the Raiders were taking a receiver. It's the matter of which one. And there was a receiver in the room where they said Hayward Bay's name, and one of the receivers after that was there is like pretty much like wiped his forehead. It's like, ooh, thank goodness they didn't pick me. And I think that was Michael Crabtree. I don't think we ever like found out for sure whether it was Crabtree or not. People say, oh yeah, well Michael Crabtree went to the Raiders after that. His career. Well, yeah, the Raiders weren't the dumpster fire that they were in the mid-2000s when
Crabtree went to the Niners and he had to deal with that.
Yeah.
Well, he finally got Harbaugh, but still had to deal with some bad teams.
And that's one thing with the 49ers too, is just that front office messed that up so poorly. I feel when you had Harbaugh, I think was such a great coach for that team. It was a power struggle. All right,
Trent Baalke, eat your heart out, man.
Yeah, give your thoughts on the whole 49ers situation. I'm sure you got a lot.
Well, I mean, Trent Baalke, I mean, that situation, now they finally got it rectified. But I mean, the fact that Trent Baalke, he was like kind of that Reggie McKenzie now, where he had that one great draft where he got Aldon Smith and he got a couple other guys, obviously. They got Kaepernick in the second round, but yeah, that was a power struggle. Jim, they should have. If Jed York had a spine, the president of the president of the 49ers, if he had a spine, he would have just give Jim Harbaugh the reins, because Jim Harbaugh is coming from Stanford, where he is literally in charge of the entire thing. He does recruiting, he does all the position. He basically, like the whole analogy they did, like, I'm the chef, but you're not going to let me go to the grocery store and buy the ingredients. Mm-hmm. Like, what's going on here? And when Trent Baalke kept screwing up drafts, I mean, I don't know what Jim could have been thinking there. And then the fact that they left on irreconcilable differences, I mean, that they were both okay with, it was kind of I did not believe that, because I mean, Jim was taking them to the Super Bowl. He took them to 3 straight NFC Championship games. He's an NFL coach.
Yeah, like this is complete. They're so lucky they got John Lynch out there who fixed it all. I mean, I remember when they brought in John Lynch, I was like, wait, you guys brought in the safety who's been in the Fox booth calling NFL games? At first, I wasn't a fan of it at all, but John Lynch has shown he knows how to do the job. Brought in Kyle Shanahan, and now the 49ers on the up and up, all right? But, yeah, just like I said, I mean, with the whole Vince Young thing, that was a little out there for CBS to throw out there, because like I said, he was a 2006 Offensive Rookie of the Year, all right? And I think like his quarterback record was 31-19, threw for nearly 10,000 yards in his career. Well, 9,000 yards, I should say. Did throw more interceptions than he did touchdowns. 46 touchdowns, 51 interceptions. But I think it's just a matter of Jeff Fisher, and this is, Tom, you'll learn this about me. One of the biggest reasons why I'm part of the anti-Jeff Fisher fan club is because of the fact that I think he's the reason why Vince Young isn't in the league anymore. I don't think Fisher ever wanted Vince Young, but that's old news, I guess you could say. I just wanted to bring that up. And then we got Mike Tomlin, all right? Old man yelling at kids to get off his lawn, saying that the NFL touchdown celebrations are setting a bad example. What do you think about that?
Well, his team had the best celebrations. Did you not watch those? They played hide and go seek on the field, Jesse. I mean, come on. Obviously, you got to score in order to do that. So, I mean, his team was getting in the end zone. Juju and Le'Veon Bell were having a lot of fun out there. Maybe they lost sight of it when they were playing the Jaguars. But I mean, the thing is, that game, I can go into that game for a long time, because that was not their fault. They scored 41 points in that game. They came back. They matched every score the Jaguars threw out at them. The defense let them down in that game. I know Ryan Shazier. Hope you get better. Quick, because that defense needs you, man. But Mike Tomlin needs to take a chill pill, because that was one of the better rule changes, I think, this year. All the media had a lot of fun with it. We had top 10 lists with the best celebrations of the year, and I think the Steelers had at least 2 or 3 of them on there, because, I mean, they did a really good job with that.
Yeah, that's like the whole thing. I mean, we don't want to go back to the no fun league, all right? They finally gave us celebration stuff, and the fans were entertained by it. I mean, you got Juju Smith-Schuster. The dude's got a YouTube channel and all that. This is perfect for him.
I want to play Fortnite with him.
Yeah, he's playing with all those other guys. But Juju Smith-Schuster, I mean, that's the definition of the touchdown celebration. Well, a guy likes to go out there and have fun. So I think with Mike Tomlin, like Tom said, it's take a chill pill, right? It's not a big deal. I mean, who's he setting a bad example for? All right. I mean, even, I guess, the kids before, I'm sure they wanted touchdown celebrations. But
you got to score a touchdown first.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You got to score.
Maybe
it's encouraging people to score more.
Yeah, it's just for Mike Tomlin. I mean, just calm down, all right? Stop yelling at people to get off your lawn. NFL's going to be fine. But like I said, I just don't want to go back to the no fun league. But That's actually going to wrap it up for today's show. Today, me and Tom talked about Suh going to the Rams. We talked about OBJ being on the trade block, possibly. I mean, you got the owner and GM saying it's not happening, but we all know that's code for it. Yeah, just give us a lot. And then third segment, we talked about the rule changes. And then for this segment, talked about Johnny Manziel, talked about the 49ers, Vince Young, and then we talked about Mike Tomlin saying that touchdown celebrations were setting a bad example. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast. Tom is going to be back with us on Thursday, so stay tuned till then, and we will talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.